Today I am doing a full review and tutorial on the new Natasha Denona Mini Star palette. I ordered it a week or two ago, and I just have not gotten around to filming with it, so I'm very, very excited to play around with it and let you guys know my honest opinion on it. Now, this palette is $25 on the Sephora website, and it is a brand new holiday mini eyeshadow palette inspired by the Star eyeshadow palette. The palette features 5 shades from the existing Natasha Denona Star palette. These shadows are long-lasting with strong color payoff thanks to a high percentage of pure pigments. Extremely buildable and blendable, these shades will not crease and they easily adhere to the eye even without using a primer. So that is the information on this little palette. Like I said, it is $25. These are, they're teeny, but that's pretty much Natasha Denona. Like, all the mini palettes are this size. The other mini palette that I have is this one. This is the mini sunset palette. So without further ado, let's move into the video and show you guys how I created this look, and I swatch it for you guys and give you guys my final thoughts later on in the video. So I will see you guys in a little bit. Okay, so let's get into playing with this little teeny palette. This is what the package looks like, and I really like the shades in here, and I'm kind of curious to see, how they blend. And I haven't had the best of luck with Natasha Denona lately, but I have heard that the gold palette is like unbelievable, and I'm on the fence about buying that one and reviewing it just because I don't know that I like paying that much money for a palette. Like, I bought the Pat McGrath palette, and don't get me wrong, I love that palette, but I don't know that I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. I didn't like the Safari palette. It did not perform for me at all. And I just kind of feel like it's like weird to spend that much money on an eyeshadow palette. So the Safari palette was the first big Natasha Denona palette that I bought. And I know that that one, was kind of a hit and miss. Some people loved it, some people didn't. I didn't like the quality of it. The Mothership palette from Pat McGrath, that is so stunning. But that was my first big palette that I bought from Pat McGrath. And don't get me wrong, it's just kind of makes me feel weird spending that much money on a palette. So I'm on the fence. I just don't know. I do know several of my friends here on YouTube, they have done a full review on that palette. I will put links to their videos down in the description box down below. I think they did a great job reviewing that palette, and I trust their judgment. And I wouldn't recommend watching them if I didn't trust them. I'm really having a hard time deciding whether I'm going to buy that palette. So I will keep you posted, but it's looking like I'm probably not going to. It's an eyeshadow palette. It's not something that I would use on a daily basis. So I just feel weird about it. Like, I'd rather buy like a bomb ass sweater or like a bomb ass pair of boots than a $130 eyeshadow palette. So I'll keep you posted, but the way it's going, I don't think I'm going to be getting that palette. For this video, I'm going to go ahead and take this first shade right here. It's kind of just like a light cream shade, and I'm going to take my M506 from Morphe, and I am going to work this in the crease and just kind of build up a little bit of definition. Now, there is a little bit of kick up in the pan, kind of similar to maybe like an ABH palette, but that stuff doesn't bother me, but I'm just letting you guys know that it does have some kick up in the pan. Some people, I know, they don't like that, and it's definitely a preference, but I do recommend when you have a palette that has kick up like that, I do recommend making sure that you really tap the brush off, just because if it has that much kick up in the pan, you can increase your chances of more fallout. So just be mindful of that. Make sure that you kind of tap off the extra on your brush before you go in. Oh, I have eyelash glue all up in my eyelashes. Oh, I'm a hot mess. Now I'm just kind of building up this dimension right here, just because there's only that shade and that dark shade. I kind of want to just use that shade to really build on top of itself and build the dimension within that shade. So far, this shade is blending in beautifully, and it's much more pigmented and goes on, pretty decent for being kind of a light taupey shade. Now I'm just going to take my M504 and just kind of buff out those edges a tiny bit. I'm going to take this brush from my Dose of Colors Baked Brown palette, and I'm going to go into that shade and I'm gonna sweep it right underneath my lash line and kind of build up that dimension down there. Kind of connecting them together. Now let's move on to the darker shade in the palette. This shade right here, this darker matte. Using the same brush, I am going to build up this part right here. Now that's kind of a cool tone brown. It's not, definitely doesn't have a lot of warmth to it. It's definitely more on the cooler side, and it's blending nicely. I'm not really having any issues with it, and I'm not really getting a lot of fallout. Now, as per usual, I'm gonna wipe that brush off, and I'm gonna go back into the lighter brown shade, and I'm gonna pop that back over top, because whenever you go in with a dark shade, you'll lose that transition shade. And I like to keep my transition shade kind of alive and well. I like seeing the transition shade in that upper part of the crease. So far, this isn't bad. Like, this is not bad. This is working out pretty good. I'm gonna go back into the darker shade using this brush from the Dose of Colors Baked Browns palette, and I'm just gonna kind of smoke out my lower lash line a tiny bit. Keeping it close to the lash line though. Like, I don't wanna drag that shade too far down. Now I'm gonna wipe that brush off, and I'm gonna go back in to that first lighter matte shade and bring that back to life. And I'm gonna go back into the dark matte brown, and I'm just going to make sure that I kind of carve this out just a little bit with that brush. I like that definition. And this brush is tiny and small, and you can really get up in there and kind of carve that out. Now I am having issues on this outer corner, but I want to explain why. I am using a retinol cream at the moment. That part of my eye has been peeling, and so like you can see the shadows are sticking to it just a little bit weird on that side. That is not the eyeshadow's fault. That is actually my retinol cream. That dark brown, whoo, she is pigmented. Okay, so there are 3 shimmer shades in this palette. There are this one, just kind of like a holographic, like bluish purple shade. So that is what that looks like. Then we have this like real pretty, like champagne pink shade. And then there's this really pretty green shade. Those are the shimmer shades. Let me just go ahead and swatch it for you. I got 2 more shades here. So this is the one matte brown. These are very pigmented, y'all. Like seriously, whew, that brown is so crazy pigmented. So that's what the palette looks like swatched. I mean, I was already pretty much heading there anyway, so why not just finish it up? I am going to go into this green shade right here, and I'm just gonna take my felt tip applicator. I always like to take my makeup wipe and just kind of dampen it without spraying it, but I don't get it like super wet or anything, and I like to go down into the shades like that. I feel like I can control the shimmer shade much better if I go down into it with it a little bit damp. Now I use a felt tip applicator because I really can't put on shimmer shades with my fingers. I just feel like I get a better precise application using a felt tip applicator. I am gonna go over top of it with that champagne shade, this one right here, because I want to see, you know, kind of what that shade will look like, but I'm gonna kind of do it from the inner corner out. That green's okay, but it's just kind of dull. Like, it's just kind of a dull green, like a real toned down green. But when you put that champagne shade over top of it, it kind of pops. I am now going to deepen up my outer corner. So I'm going to go back into the M506 brush, and I'm going to go into that dark matte brown. And I'm just going to place it over top of this shimmer shade and just kind of deepen it up a little bit. There really isn't anything for the inner corner in that palette. So I'm going to go into my Makeup Revolution. This is the highlighter palette. I like this little quad highlighter palette. This is the JH39 brush, and I'm going to go down into the first shade right here. It's really light. I'm going to spray it. I don't want to do too much. I just want a little tiny bit like that. I think I'm going to leave it there. I don't know that I want to do my brow bone. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to go ahead, throw some lashes on, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I went ahead and threw on some House of Lashes in Iconic Lights. They're just always my go-to lash. Like, I mix it up a little bit, but it is definitely one of my favorite lashes. So now I am going to put on a lippy. So recently I bought this one. This is the first color I got, and this is in the shade Uncuffed. This is the Fenty Beauty. This is their new Stunna lip paints. Now, I heard, I think on like Trend Mood or something, I read in the comments that the first time they brought out this product, not this shade, but this product, the formula wasn't the best. So it's my understanding that Fenty reformulated and brought out not only a new formula, but more shades. So this is the first one I got. I really love this shade. I'm gonna go ahead and swatch it for you guys so you guys can see. I've already filmed with it, but I love this shade. It is so gorgeous. So I loved this lippy so much. It lasted for hours. I'm not gonna say that it's like super rich in pigment for hours, but it lasts and it's smooth enough where you can kind of rub your lips together and kind of bring it back to life. It's a nice formula. So I loved it so much that I went ahead and bought the shade Unbutton. Look at that nude shade. It is so gorgeous. That is like the perfect nude shade. Look, I burnt my hand on my curling iron the other day. That is the perfect nude shade. So when I seen this palette, I thought, oh my gosh, I really want to use that shade Unbutton with this palette. So I'm going to go ahead and add my KKW Beauty Nude Lip Liner number 2. I love her lip liners. They are so creamy. What I love about them is not only I love this shade goes with everything. Not only do I love the Nude number 2 shade, but I love the formula because it's creamy. And when you put a lippy over top of it, it's easy to kind of blend the lip liner down into the lippy. Now I'm going to go ahead and put on this lippy. Oh, that's so pretty. I'm obsessed. Now, the way that I like to use these is go in and make sure that you wipe off the product as much as you can on the applicator, because this product is really, really liquidy, and a little teeny bit goes a long way. Okay, I love those two together. This might be my new favorite combination. That is like the perfect nude lip. Okay, I'm officially obsessed. These two are a total winner. If you guys have been wanting to check out this new formula from Fenty, I highly, highly recommend it. These are fantastic. Okay, let's go ahead and get into my final thoughts about this palette. Okay, first things first, I do think that the mattes blend out beautifully. To me, they blend out really nice, and I really, really like the matte shades in the palette. I think they complement each other well, and I do like that cool tone brown. The shimmer shades, okay, so when I did this eye, you could tell that I was struggling. All I did was dampen my felt tip applicator, and then I went in with the shadow. However, I was saying it was a little bit on the dull side, like it's toned down when I put it on. On this eye, when I did it off camera, I put it on the applicator and then I sprayed it. And it was much more vibrant going on wet than it was dry. Just letting you guys know that. When I said that it was toned down, it's definitely, that green shade in particular, that shade you definitely need to wet it down to get that pigmentation and to get that intensity. With all of that said, this is just like not my favorite palette. I like it. I like the shades of it, but I just don't know that I'll be reaching for it all that much. And I kind of feel like it's just not my favorite. There's something about it that just doesn't pull me in. Like it's okay, but it's not like, oh my gosh, I freaking love this little palette. I recently reviewed and played with this little bad boy from Too Faced. This is the Tickled Peach palette. I'm absolutely obsessed with this palette. Like, there is something very magical about this palette, and I love it. I wear it as much as I possibly can. I love it, and I find myself reaching for it. This is $1 more, and you actually get 8 shades instead of 5. So you get 5 more shades. The shimmer shades are more pigmented in this palette. Now, don't get me wrong. Honestly, this is worth every single penny. And don't get me wrong, I think if you like these shades and you got the palette, I think you would enjoy it. I don't know that this is a palette that I would say, oh my gosh, if you get it, you're gonna hate it. It's not good pigmentation, because that's just not true. If you like the palette and you like the shades, I think you're gonna enjoy the palette. I think the shades are pigmented. I do like this shade. I think it's unique. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not the first holographic shade that we've seen, but it's actually a really pretty shade. It's unique, especially for a smaller palette. If you guys have been wanting to get the Star palette, but you can't afford the Star palette, this one works just fine. I do think that they chose pretty decent shades from the Star palette and put it into this little mini palette. And I think that the shades are cohesive together, and I think they work very well together. But I just don't know that I'm going to be pulling for this a lot. It's just not my... there's something about it that just doesn't like grab me. Like this one grabs me on every level. I love this little palette. I love it, love it, love it. Again, you know, you guys have to decide what you want to spend your hard-earned cash on. That is up to you. My job is just to kind of, you know, give you guys my review based on pigmentation, quality. If I was going to go on vacation, you know, for a couple of days, these two palettes together would be perfect, because you kind of have the cool tone shades in here, and then you have the nice warm tone shades in here. So these two palettes together would be awesome, and they're small and little and easy to carry. So don't get me wrong, I'm not upset with the fact that I bought this. I just don't know that I'll be reaching for it all that much. As far as the lippy, this is probably one of my favorite lippy combos in a minute, so I'm very excited about that. I do really love these from Fenty. Awesome. That is what I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you guys again for all of the love and the support you guys show me and my channel and this journey. I am so fortunate and so blessed to have all of you guys in my corner. I love you guys so much, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day filled with love, happiness, and joy. I love you guys so much. Bye.